They need on the agenda. Steve coming today?
He said he was gonna zoom in.
Okay.
Eric and Jim from Whitewater are supposed to zoom in too.
Okay. Thank you for fixing them so fast. I don't know why Craig didn't just call for you or somebody.
Maybe he's fixing all of them.
I was speaking.
Hopefully.
Everything right out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Her sisters have been badgered her ever since she got out, so she hadn't had time to rest. We go home.
You got a cover for.
Yeah. What is that? Something. I didn't know.
It's just, even though she's friends with Jamie. It's like.
Good job.
How's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, good.
Is you related to the golfer
I am, yeah,
mother?
yeah,
Oh, it's pretty good.
thanks. Hopefully it gets us into college.
Boy, it's crowded at the top.
Yeah.
We'll get it done somewhere. What year is it?
So,
Where's Steve?
It's just very good.
Okay, it's a little after 3 o'clock and I'll start the meeting of the Capital Projects Committee. And do we have any public that would like to make a comment for the meeting? I don't think so. Minutes review. We're gonna do minutes review. Tuesday, August 12th. Did everyone get a chance to read the minutes?
Mhm.
Any problems?
I didn't see. I'll move to accept the minutes of the meeting of September 9th and August 12th.
Someone second?
Second. Yeah.
Any- All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Steve. Okay. So where do we want to start with the review of the 60% design review comments, or is that a good place? Okay,
Well, I guess, can I interrupt there? Sorry.
of course.
Before you get going on that, so like, where are we? Who's doing what right now? It has been since this.
Updates on, oh, okay. Jackie.
yeah, so we issued just that, so we have the technical memo that kind of focused on value engineering and some of the comments. But then there was an Excel spreadsheet that went to it, and that's where everything's listed, so it's not in one spot or the other. So I guess Lauren, if you want to speak to your response, but GHG has received those comments now. And it's been looking through them. I mean, I know we'll get into it later, but I think we were focusing on the SRF submission mostly, as opposed to getting in the comments too much for that.
So it's still in that response stage?
Yeah.
It's still in GHG's court, correct.
And how long has it been there?
This was submitted last week, last Friday. Right, Lauren, you got the comments and the
Yep.
memo on last week, yeah.
Yep, last week. Yeah,
So-
so I can
Yeah,
speak
go
to it, or if you're done, or.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so yeah, we received the comments last week, and as Jackie mentioned, we're going to be focusing on the SRF submittal. But what we're going to do with the comments, there's about 400, so we are going to formally respond to them. But in the meantime, in order to make sure that we're meeting our October 3rd deadline, we're going to have all of the disciplines review the comments. If there's some, what I'm calling low-hanging fruit that they're able to pick up and put on the drawings currently, they will do that over the next, week and a half that they have to do some more updates. But then they'll also be looking at the comments to see if there's anything that, might change the design a lot or they feel might be an issue. And that we will, if we find something, and I've personally looked at about half the comments and there hasn't been anything major that we would feel that we need to bring up that would change the design a whole lot. But if one of the team members does find something, we'll let Jackie and Ziad know and, have a discussion on that, as soon as possible. We did also schedule a design review meeting of sorts. We are going to have that on September 23rd on Tuesday to go over, any, I guess I'll say last minute comments. And one thing we just discussed at our touch point meeting today at 1 o'clock was, we're trying to accommodate any major, changes or input, but there still is time after this submission, after our October 3rd SRF submission, to make changes. So we definitely have the ability to address some of the evaluations from a value engineering perspective that Apex brought up, and look at some of the design comments that they had after this submission. For the SRF submission, really they're most likely to be looking at the process components or anything that might pertain to meeting permit. So some of the things that were brought up, such as concrete or pavement extents, that's not something that they're really concerned about. So that's how we're planning to address it, in the most efficient way possible to still meet all of our deadlines.
So is there anything that's kind of locked in place when we get to October 3rd that we can't change?
We did talk about trying to lock in the layout of the buildings and the location of the buildings, simply because, as I see Steve Jonathan nodding his head, like if you change one wall, you're changing structural, you're changing architectural, you're changing the plumbing, electrical process, you're kind of changing everything. So to be the most efficient, we're really hoping to lock in the layout of the operations and treatment building and the specific location of those buildings on the actual site. I know we did discuss at our 1 o'clock meeting that we are still looking to have some final input from the fire department. We had an initial meeting with the chief, Lisa, and I think we've accommodated the size, roadways, and things that she needs, but we want to make sure that we're addressing all of that. So.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, sorry to diverse.
It was good, it was
Yeah.
good, we kind of did that at our 1 o'clock meeting too. It was,
Does Apex expect a formal response at a certain point on those
Yeah.
100 items?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even we, we had provided the 30% design review comments. I don't think GHD we haven't seen those yet from GHD. Obviously, the submission between the 30 and the 60%, a lot of that stuff has already sailed.
Yeah.
But we need to have the response. I mean, GHD is the design of record. We may offer something and may not need to agree with it, but at a minimum, they need to explain why, right? So we are looking, and the way we've broken off in our the value engineering memo was just based on certain things like, high level disciplines where you could potentially save some money, change maybe the bidding criteria as opposed to, have multiple bids, smaller bids as opposed to having one single bid. Again, they may not need to agree with it, but at a minimum, I think they need to respond and explain why, they're not agreeing or why they're agreeing, I guess.
Obviously, SRF is priority number one, but as far as the response, can GHD commit to a date that they'll be responding back to us?
Lauren, I don't know if you guys committed to a date to respond to the 60% comments?
We did not commit to a date yet. Can I get back to you on that just with a formal date? Again,
Yeah.
we will respond with anything critical by the 23rd. But let me get with the team to give you a specific date that I can report back to the committee.
I think we just, you know, we know we're running behind. We know the time is short, but I think we want some assurances that we will get that response, even, and I don't care if it's 2 weeks out, really. I know we would prefer it as soon as possible. And as you say, if there are large things, we need to know that sooner rather than later. But the faster you can get it to us, the better. I mean, I think it will reassure us that we're on track, even though we know we can make changes later, and I appreciate that, but you know. we
Yeah,
just wanna-
I'll say that by the 23rd, for the discipline, so Apex broke it up by discipline. So I'll be able to send an update from what the team has gotten to so far.
Okay, good.
So I can at least upload that to the SharePoint site. And you know, it's probably going to be a couple days after the October 3rd deadline that we'd
Yeah.
be able to submit it, but I want to give you a specific date that my
Perfect.
team can agree to.
I think that would be helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The other piece, Lauren, I think I brought it up once before. If I'm not mistaken, I think SRF is not going to do a technical review of the documents. So most likely they're gonna defer to the Southeast region to do the technical review. And I'm not sure if you had contacted anybody at DEP to say, hey, this is forthcoming, and I don't know if you have. I think those guys get into the technical end of things as opposed to what SRF usually does. So maybe it's worth having that conversation with Mass DEP Southeast on this issue.
Sure.
What was the 30% review in the same format as this one? With the comments and
We provided comments, also by discipline on the 30%. We focus on the big picture stuff. Granted that, you know, knowing that the 30%, you're probably gonna have some typos and,
Sure.
you know, we focus on the big item stuff, but we did not provide a memorandum of value engineering at 30%.
the spreadsheet
Yes,
is the same.
correct.
Is everything a moot point on that now, or
A lot of it would be, yes.
could we get a copy of the your 30% review?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we can see it just in case we didn't get passed on to the 60, that'd be great.
And we'll GHD will definitely provide that. You know, a lot of it was a moot point, and you know, Jackie and I kind of discussed, you know, let's kind of focus on the next steps, but we absolutely will provide a formal response to that 30% as well.
My understanding is that we're getting another plan set before 90% from GHD for us to review again.
This at 90%
Before 90%.
An updated 60%.
on the 23rd.
So actually we'll be providing a QA/QC check set for the SRF submission this Wednesday, end of day. So essentially what we've done is put this out to both the town, Apex, and our QA/QC team to look at it before our SRF submission goes out, you know, later in the month.
But Lauren, I thought we talked about today that, is that what we'd be receiving on the 23rd?
Nope, so you'll have drawings uploaded to SharePoint on the 10th, so Wednesday, tomorrow.
Oh, what was 23rd then?
Oh, that's our meeting to discuss the SRF submittal.
Based on those specs that you're uploading?
Yeah, so
Wednesday.
any, you know, comments that haven't, you know, popped through on any of our other weekly meetings, or if there's any, you know, questions or comments on the SRF submittal itself, which is a whole checklist in itself. So that'll give us an opportunity to check in with the town and the Apex team.
So on September 10th, that also goes to SharePoint, right?
Yep.
September.
Yeah, September 10th.
Okay, where are we?
Maybe we're up at the GHD update.
Looks like it.
Okay. Oh, let me actually share my screen that I'm looking at. So I made a couple. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
small.
Okay. Is it? Sorry.
No,
Hopefully I can
it's
get a little bigger. Yeah, something doesn't look right. So I made a few slight changes and updates to the schedule, and I did check, Steve, that that was the accurate schedule that you were looking at earlier today. So we have our SRF submission, which we've kind of been saying is we're targeting 90%, but we know that we're not quite there yet. So we are submitting for a QA/QC review on the 10th to the client, you guys, and the OPM. We will be submitting the cost estimate on the 19th. So there'll be an additional time to review that. We are going to have our design meeting, as I mentioned, on the 23rd, and our design submittal is due by the Friday, October 3rd. However, we are working to get all of that updated or uploaded to the SharePoint site earlier in the week so that Apex can, go through the checklist. And essentially they have to like click on a link and update or upload every item. So I think we've maybe said this at a previous meeting, but we've created a section on the SharePoint site and have also created a checklist with labels on it in Excel so that we can share that with Apex. We've actually had a couple meetings on it already, and we'll label each item with those specific numbers so that they can go specifically, okay, this is part 1, item 4, and load it directly to the SRF submission. So we are in the process of doing that, and we'll be uploading things early. So if Jackie Tupper and her team wants to start, they can. So then our final design, and we can, add some more meetings in here if we feel is necessary to review things. But we'll be working on our final design and have a QA/QC review submitted on Friday the 12th. I actually made this a little earlier. Originally, I had it on the 19th, but I figured you all might want a little bit of time to review before the holidays, and hopefully we can get it back to our team before the holidays happen. GHD does shut down loosely for a couple weeks, but a lot of people do end up working over the holiday. Sometimes it's quieter, which is nice. So we might have, some of the design team who will be able to address those comments, if they're submitted by the 19th. And then you guys don't have to worry about it over the holidays. And then we're planning on submitting the final design on the 9th. And then we start getting into our bidding or the contractor pre-qualification, bidding and award. Some of that, if we're able to start it a little earlier, we're going to do that. So that's what we're looking at now. Again, we can put in some, interim checkpoints. I know at a lot of the weekly meetings, I'll share drawings that have been updated or the model for everyone to look at. So that's what we're looking at for schedule. And then I guess the last thing I'll mention is after the October 3rd deadline to SRF, the next important deadline is getting the construction contracts executed by June 30th. I guess any questions on schedule or SRF or anything else?
The schedule's on SharePoint, right?
Actually,
No.
I believe it is. Yeah, the one from the July CPC
Oh.
meeting on the 22nd's up there, but I'll upload this new one on there too.
It's there, thank you.
Hmm?
It is there.
Who handles the purchasing process? Is that Apex run that, or does GHD run the plant, you run your site? How does who does the advertising, who does the
For the bidding,
package, the deal preparation and stuff
The treatment plant?
for the treatment plant and the collection system?
Oh, the bidding,
Yeah, the bidding
Okay.
process, yeah.
yeah, it would be separated out, so GHD would handle the
They do
plan.
theirs, you do yours. Okay.
that's the 149. There's three qualifications for the file sub bids
Yeah.
first, and then you get the qualification for the general contract is the sheer size of the project, and then ours would be chapter 30. So we're gonna bid the pump stations as a standalone project and still chapter 30. And then perhaps we're gonna stagger the collection system into 5 different contracts. Maybe we start with 2 the first year and then kind of spread them out for the next couple of years.
Mhm.
Kind of be in line with the plant. The plant's gonna be about 3 years. And I think the collection system will probably be the same total.
Lauren, on the timeline that you have here with going out to bid in January, I guess I'm sure most people's concern is that we have the specifications as tight as we can, as close to 90% as we can, so that we have appropriate response to the bids and minimize change orders in the future, that type of thing.
Right.
You think this timeline gives plenty of time to get back up to date, to get to an actual 60% and then get 60 to 90?
Yes, yes, and like Ziad was just talking, I think the actual bidding, like the bidding period is quite long because of that pre-qualification process. So the actual bidding of the job, I want to say, and I can add it to the schedule, is more towards March, if I remember correctly. So we've got plenty of time to get the specifications and drawings lined up.
We talked a couple months ago about the SRS requirements for, bids and all that stuff. Do they all have to be bid? Did you have any conversation with them yet?
All the projects mean?
Yeah,
No, not all of them at the same time, no.
no, but by June 30th, you have to have contracts for the.
You
whole
have to
job.
have a contract.
At least one,
Yeah.
right? At least,
Yes,
So
But not
you
all
just-
of them.
You just gotta have one, okay.
just gotta have one.
So if you have the planned under contract, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cause we only have the 50 million, so I think that's why they understand that.
okay.
mhm.
But we did it with water as well, we did it in sequence.
Have you looked at how you're gonna appropriate that 50 million once you get started? I mean, you've got to kind of say, well, okay, we're gonna start the bidding here. I'm thinking also about digging up the streets in the wintertime versus the summertime and.
Yeah, so with the SRF would be, they would also require a cash flow projection, right? For each of the projects, right? So
Yeah.
if they start with 50 million bucks and they have to estimate, if you were to have a contractor on board by June 30th, you're not really expending anything at that time until they start mobilizing, right? And then they're gonna have to kind of anticipate what are they gonna be doing once they mobilize. If you award a contract, let's say the plant gets awarded by June 30th, and if realistically, the contractor is not gonna mobilize until like September 1st, right? Because they wanna do their buyouts, all the purchases and their mobilization, all that. And then there's a big chunk of money they're gonna pay for mobilization, which is usually about 2.5% of the contract value. And then the other 2.5 upon demob. And now it's gonna be a slow process, cleaning and getting the site ready and doing the concrete. So you gotta project and anticipate how much you're gonna be spending for the next year. You'll be surprised that you won't be spending a lot upfront. It's just gonna take some time to develop, right? Whereas collection system will do the same thing. But, you know.
Like we did with water, breaking it up into smaller bits.
Right.
Jackie, didn't you say you've already started the cash flow analysis for the SRF?
So it's tricky.
It is, yeah, and then we do make changes in that after SRF too. I mean, clearly we did a million changes in water, but. You know, like when we decided to do winter work, you know, because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in and ask along the lines of budgeting and monies and cost, where does the cost of site cleanup come up? And how does that get paid for? And just as an editorial comment, having been over there after the workshop, seems like there's an enormous amount of work that has to take place. And you know, Jackie and Rich, who budgets that? Is that part of the overall number we're talking about? Does that get done by the town? Do you peel off people from DPW to start doing that? How do you sequence what seemed on the ground to a layperson to be a pretty big job?
Well, I think that's
I-
basically what Zia just said, is that that is gonna be a huge, just the site preparation and getting rid of all that soil and, you know, all that is gonna be a huge part of it. And I think that was one thing you discussed in the 60% design comments was, you know, how should we cut that up? So that's, I think, more of a strategic discussion that we need to have internally to say, you know, who's gonna be doing what. We will, obviously, we could use DPW staff for some things, but we don't want to overtax them too, because they're responsible for everything else. So I think what makes sense for the town to do, we'll figure out and do, and then what makes sense to contract out, we'll contract out. But I think Ziad's concern was, let's not put that in the construction contract, because that will just add that extra 10% we'll have to pay. Whereas if we go out as
Right.
a separate contract, it might, you know, it might help us bid wise.
So to add to that a little bit, I mean, we've done this many times over the years.
Right.
So
Yep.
especially with the location of, you know, you're on the outer Cape here, right? And honestly, and the folks from Whitewater will probably attest to that. Most likely the contractor is gonna be doing the plant. It's probably gonna be a big outfit from somewhere. Either CH Nickerson, some JF White, or somebody, you know, that's probably gonna bring their folks out, and they're gonna have to get housing and pay per diem and things of that nature. Whereas a site cleanup, it could be bid separate for a local contractor to just basically come out and then take all that, all the stock that the DPW currently has and put it somewhere, keep the place, the work local, and then you're not really paying the markup from the GC to the site contractor to do that cleanup. And similarly, you could do the same thing with the site restoration when the work is already done. Okay, so you could have 100 landscapers on Cape, on the outer Cape here, who could do planting and screening and things of that nature, so you could reduce the cost, the markup cost from the general contractor. Just a thought, again, you know, that requires GHD to kind of break up the bid into 3 separate bids. Obviously, 2 would be chapter 30, and then the main one would be 149. It's a little bit of work on their end, but the town would save a lot of money in the process because of the markup, and then obviously keeping the work here local.
Is there any kind of contract that we do like that, separate from the main contractor, that would not qualify? I mean, where is the out of bounds?
You don't need to qualify the site work. Site work is
Site
just,
work, salt shed, I mean,
Yeah.
just throwing out some things that we've talked about that might be carved out as a separate item.
a salt shed, I'm not really sure. I think still has to follow the 149 process, because especially if you do masonry and if you do some electrical work and some other, you know, but the salt shed probably most likely is gonna be incorporated part of the facility construction, right?
Yeah.
I think.
But it may not be by the general contractor, if I'm getting at.
It could be, depending on what style the town, you know, may want to go with. If you're just gonna go with a conventional salt shed that just, you know, you may be able to get away with it and not make it part of the general contract.
But it would still be SRF.
Oh, yeah, all of it would be SRF, yes.
I just wanna know if there's items that would clearly be outside. With water, we got a lot of items in that probably were outside the line, but I kind of know what they are, but I don't know what this project they look like.
And then on the other side, we were gonna separate the landscaping, the final landscaping, adding trees, fences, all that stuff as a separate bid.
Contract, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any more unscheduled timelines, Lauren?
If there's no more questions, that's what I've got for today.
Okay. Jackie, are you doing the SRF submission update?
Yeah, I guess I can kind of give an update and maybe just explain the SRF a little bit. So I think the first part is that Lauren and her team and me have met several times, and we have a detailed checklist where we went through item by item in the whole application and decided who was doing what and who needed to sign what forms applied to the plant, what applied to the collection system. So I think Apex is taking the lead on individual submission, and we logged in and pulled the form. It's all online now. I think
Mhm.
last year they started doing it online. So we'll submit it, but I think Lauren mentioned it might already be on SharePoint, just our checklist between us, kind of going through everything. So we're on the same page there, and I think maybe just kind of talk about SRF big picture in terms of the submissions we were talking about. Is it's really just one step in the process where, you know, we made it to the IUP, we had to make sure we had the town appropriation. So they just call this the construction stage application, where it's dictated the fact that you have SRF the state and then they work with the trust for the money. So the point being is we have to submit all these forms that like Jackie will sign, look into policies, say where we're at with permitting, submit a plan set, and like Ziad said, DEP Southeast Region is gonna review the plan set. SRF doesn't review it technically. Their key things are, okay, you have your appropriation, you submitted something, where are your permits, what's your cash flow forecast look like? Only so they can meet their internal deadline of the end of December to do what's called a PAC, a project approval certificate. And that's what gets sent to the trust. And in that, say, like Lauren mentioned the hydrogeo report, so DEP is still looking at that. That just goes on the PAC. Okay, you can't go out to bid until you have formal approval from so-and-so, but you don't need it for the submission.
So we'll get a list of things that still have to be done. Yeah.
Right. Before we go out to bid.
Yeah.
Just so they have it, they basically review that. And then since the end of that December timeframe, that's when usually in January, Rich would get a letter and a whole package saying, okay, you have your pack, it's for the 170 appropriation. This is how we think you're gonna break it down, fill out this questionnaire, green light letter from council goes along with that. And then that gets that paperwork started, so that when we put it out to bid and we get all the bids, then they can take all of that paperwork has to be done to get the project regulatory agreement between the trust and the state and the town. So it just kind of, that's more their big picture process and what they're looking for the funding. So that's when I think, when we keep talking about different plan sets, it's like, okay, there's one plan set that technically, so we're submitting something to SRF. But then internally, we have different plan sets at different stages that we're gonna review and provide comments. Cause we just need to have ours bid ready and just something submitted to SRF.
You get a formal question or response to the 10 pre-submittal, or that you got it in, we did our part. They just need that information for the end of the year, or did they actually respond back to you?
They usually like talk to us about it, question things, and their kind of formal response is that PAC letter.
January.
Or, yeah, usually by the end of December. It depends on how quick they are. Cause I know they're short staffed now too.
But nobody's
so,
waiting for anything, it's just go, go, go.
Right,
Okay.
so that's kind of the big picture funding portion of it.
Yeah. And a stupid question, but I'll just put it out there. Once GHD submits their documents for submittal, nobody takes the foot off the pedal. It's still 100% go and design. There's no waiting for comments or anything like that. Everybody's just continuing to design.
Yes,
Right.
continuing to design, continue to design after Wednesday, continuing to design after the third, before the
Right.
third. So
Right.
yeah, we're still going.
No, and I think that's what I meant earlier about not saying they don't have to respond to our comments, but I didn't wanna give them comments and take away from, oh, we're not gonna have something ready for SRF
Right.
because we gave you
Right.
400 comments.
Right.
So it's getting everything for that submission, but then, yeah, still. at the same time, I mean, Lauren has her whole team different looking at it, so.
So there's no question, the schedule is super tight. I mean, we know it, they know it, everybody here knows the schedule is tight. And I think the thought process here, you know, obviously, we don't want to be in a position where, you know, you have a construction document out there to bid and they're not tight, and then all of a sudden you get a, you know, can of worms, because you open up yourself to a bunch of change orders and claims and things of that nature. I think the thought process is to be able to meet the deadline for the SRF submission and kind of sit back and focus on the technical aspects of the project to make sure that we have a good, tight plans, plan set and specification before it goes out to bid. You know, I think there's some ground to be made, but then I think we need to reconcile some of these differences, some of the you know, value engineering things to at least come to some sort of resolution here at some point after the submission to SRF is made.
Is the 9/23 meeting set up to be a discussion for those 400 points? Or is that being done offline?
9/23 is, I think the focus of the 9/23, Lauren, is to make sure that we have the submission and ready to go, right? Is that
Yeah, I think, you know, if there's any critical comments on the drawing set, and again, we're talking weekly, so feel free to bring something up if you see it ahead of time. But that meeting's really to kind of, make sure we've got everything ready for the SRF items, make sure the drawings, you know, reflect any major comments that you have at the moment. And then we are, you know, more than happy to have a meeting to actually, you know, go through the design comments more formally with Apex or, you know, whoever wants to attend.
And then to that point, Lauren, you know, your team, if you guys want to have separate meetings on the 60% design, we could be available anytime. So, you know.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll definitely, if we spot anything that we feel needs a discussion now, we'll definitely contact you and Jackie.
Another stupid question. We're so focused on the plant side. This submittal also is the collection system.
Correct.
So you guys good?
Yeah.
And then I think we're gonna give you also an update on where we're at with the collection system.
Because yours is 60% is a different time frame than their 60% or 90%, whatever. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and it's a little more, I don't wanna say it's less complicated than a whole plant, but it's not as strict. So our timeline, we kind of wrapped up, we still have the surveyor still out working, I mean, we'll obviously have a complete plan set for SRF. We just have some outstanding work on the survey, they've still been working, they probably need another month. And then we were just coordinating after this summer season to do a week of the borings on Route 6 to kind of incorporate that into our design report, which will also be part of SRF. And then we've mostly been focusing on kind of nailing down the flows for the pump stations or kind of reconfiguring them and looking at the sizing and the force mains and how everything's going to connect. But we have all, I think we're at 125 plan sheets. We'll have the plan sheets and the profile of all the mains. And we pretty much have the gravity, low pressure somewhat nailed down based on elevations, but it's more, we won't say it's final until we get the completed, some items in the completed survey.
Good. We don't have concerns with the meeting schedule.
And we still need we have to figure out when we start easements, but I'm sure that that's farther away, the fun. Okay. You done? Okay, so Whitewater, any comments from you guys on the plans that you looked at so far?
Nothing additional at this time. I thought the last meeting that we had in person was productive in going through the plan set. We had provided Apex just some additional comments and notes. I mean, nothing significant really, but just some basic additional notes on our review. And I think as things progress and start to get towards additional design closer to that 90% threshold where we can get a little more granular, I think we welcome the opportunity to provide some additional input.
Thank you.
We had a deliverable related to some of the lab area, and Jim and I will get that to the group. Just some recommendations as it related to some of the benchtop testing and things of that nature. And anything else that you need from Jim and I, we're happy to help in any way we can.
Awesome. Any questions for Whitewater? Do you add anything else to the agenda?
Your report,
What is my report on?
just in case you had something to say.
I have no report on wastewater, but I did want to fill you in on library roof. I have no idea whether the library roof will become a capital project or not. My hope would be that it doesn't, but just so you know, I've contacted, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to remember their name, SGH, Hagert,
Simpson Guilford.
Simpson.
Oh, Simpson.
Hager and, Simpson.
Yes, so they looked at the roof twice. We have the same engineer that's gonna come out with a team. He was saying he might get here this week, but I have not confirmed this week yet, so it looks like it'll be a little bit after that, but they're gonna basically start again with a new assessment based on where the roof is now, because they haven't seen it since 2021, and we have had, other issues and other repairs done since 2021, so they'll come out and give me a cost estimate for that. And then we'll go from there, but he was more hopeful than I was feeling, so that's, I think, good.
Is it in the same place more or less all the time?
It is, but in order to talk to him intelligently, I reviewed all the documents, all the documentation we have. And I think we have some really good documentation, and most of it was provided by them. But the problem was we didn't have our building maintenance supervisor at that time. I don't even think you were, when did you start? Anyway, there was a lag point where I think we had specifications for repairs, and then the repairs were done. And I'm not sure, I don't have any post-repair as-built, or there's missing chunks of, when the repair was done. Was it done up to the standard that the design was, so I think we have some blind spots that indicate that he's gonna have to go up onto the roof. Now, for the past 2 years, we've had Scott, and Scott has very detailed notes on all of the repairs and the contractors that we've had since then, but there is a patch in the middle where we're missing some data. So he wants to go up and see what was done and what wasn't done. Because they had scoped out a pretty specific repair for
It just seems like a chronic problem.
It's a chronic problem,
Same
and it's in
place.
the same place, and, someone suggested are we even sure it's a roof leak, but,
Gonna be my question.
yeah. Right,
Hopefully these experts will be able to,
yeah,
because just because you know where it's coming out, doesn't mean you know where it's coming in.
and they did, there have been repairs of some vents. There was a repair, I forget what it, you know what it was called, but some joints that weren't filled in correctly. They replaced some underlayment, we've done a lot to it, and maybe too much, who knows? I mean, who knows until they look at it, but I just wanted you to know that we're on it. Hopefully we'll get a price for that that's not too horrendous. The last time they did their assessments, they were, I did not think they were that expensive. I think they were in the $25,000 to $35,000 range, and that included coming back several times and witnessing rainstorms and the whole thing, so. That's where we are with that, and hopefully it'll never come to you, but just in case. I'll start preparing the documents now, so.
The latest repair is holding up, so.
Yeah, they all hold up for series of months. Some of them even make it almost a year. But it's very specific and, SHG, I forget.
It's GH.
Simpson, yeah.
They always have indicated that it is the direction of the rain that seems important in this. And so we notice that when we have heavy rains coming from certain directions, it's worse than at other times, but. So maybe it is something of it.
Guess the other thing, Jackie's been sending some information, select board's gonna convene or wants to convene a water commissioners meeting in October.
Oh, yeah.
And to consider a final contract for the water project. And so that certainly will be
Is that their first meeting in October?
the
That's
The
sixth.
sixth, yeah.
So perhaps we'll have something by then, we'll get it from the select board and then ultimately we'll come to you, because that'll be over the $1 million. But that's likely to consist of extension down to Nauset Lake Beach. And down the first part of Nauset Lake Beach Road. And repaving of phase 1 roads that aren't gonna be dug up again for wastewater.
How much do we have left to run budget?
We have roughly, I think it's 12 plus million.
Oh.
So hopefully in our capital budget planning, I put aside 7 million. Hopefully we
For
could
that,
less than
for
that
that
still.
contract.
So yeah, that pretty much is our finish of water. Those last two pieces.
We're not going out the old Ocean Drive Road at all, though.
No, we made the executive decision without you guys, I think, or I don't know if you were,
Select board did.
select board did.
Well, there's Mark.
Yeah, cause there's so limited, and as soon as the seashore told us that we couldn't dig around, what is that road? Tomahawk Drive, that was the only reason, the extension was from Tomahawk down Ocean Drive, where there's no homes, maybe 4 houses in that whole run.
Yeah.
And that pipe would just fall into the ocean.
No.
So people are not happy that we
So
made that
you're gonna
decision.
go out Joan Road all the way?
No,
You're talking
No.
about Tomahawk.
No, we're
Road
not.
up.
We're stopping where we've completed the southern section. We're only talking about the northern section now, which is Cable Road, period.
good board for Nauset Lake.
Yeah,
So from the high school, pretty much.
yeah.
So we're not going in to that new road.
No, but we wanna hook up the bathroom, the seashore bathrooms, get some fire prevention, get those 10 or 15 houses. And then get some fire prevention on the way to the northernmost neighborhood. We won't go there, but we'll see how close we can get with a hydrant. So at least fire will have a water source when they have to go up there.
All the talk about fire hazards and the wildfires and stuff and how vulnerable the Cape is. You'd think maybe that seashore would be interested in putting water out there on that route.
It's not that they're not interested, it's,
Interested in paying for it, I mean.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
You can
just.
get away with it, not paying.
The issue that we had is that we did all the permitting for the water system between, I don't know, 2012 and 2016 maybe, and somewhere in there, the last contract was always controversial, right? It was, Sheila said, we're bringing it to every house, right? But that every house, that last contract was so much pipe for so few homes, right? So we did not finish the permitting on that piece. And in the meantime, the park changed their permitting regulations and they raised the bar like it's like we went through, if you talk to Shayna, we went through 3 surveyors just to get one that could meet the specifications to do Nauset Lake Beach Road. So the new Nauset Lake Beach Road meets their specifications because we were required to, because it's in the park, right? But everything else, we'd have to start over, including Cable Road. So we didn't want to start the permitting all over. So the time and the money, that's when I recommended to the select board that we try and do some reduced version of that. And
So does that quiet down all the,
it seems to, well, that's where most of the residences are. But there's still some at south that have salt water intrusion and correct me if I'm going off the road here, but that have some saltwater intrusion that really want it, like Tomahawk really wants it. But we're not there, when the Seashore Park demolished those homes that were there, they left the foundations in place, like they're not, they don't want anyone to touch the ground. And of course, you know, bringing water is digging, really touching the ground, so.
we're getting into Tomahawk Trail, maybe get it around.
It's, yeah, and it is, it really, there's so many artifacts. They just did a new digging and study down there and they found like 450 new artifacts. So there's no way they're gonna let us go there. So that's when we made that.
That's one last question to Lauren.
Yeah, sure.
Could you, when you're doing your written responses to all the comments on the Apex comments, could you do the written responses to the Whitewater 12 or 15 that they submitted as well?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Those are
did we get those? Are those on the main spreadsheet, Jackie, or?
Yeah, those are part of the Apex spreadsheet.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yes, of course. We'll respond to those as well.
One more question on the clock, so we talked a little bit before the meeting started, could you just walk us through when you think you'll get to the point where you got $170 million and we think it's gonna cost you 165? I mean, what's the process? You get the drawings, do your estimate, you reconcile. How do you see this gets laid out over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it is?
Well, I think so if Lauren's getting the next set of plans tomorrow or sometime this week, then I'll forward those over to our cost estimator. And I haven't sent them GHD's estimate, so they're gonna be completely independent. They've only seen so far some plans and design reports from GHD. So this updated set, I'll forward to them this week. They'll need at least 2-3 weeks to give some kind of cost. And I think at the same time, Lauren mentioned, I don't know, was it the 23rd, or you guys would have an
The
updated.
19th.
And I think at that point, we'd meet and kind of go through and try to compare them and see where we're at. We also, we're going to do a 90% cost estimate with the cost estimator. So there'll be another one coming, but I think that would be our kind of first indication of where is it coming in at? And then we'll be meeting about these value engineering comments, and get a better sense of where all the different disciplines are, what's costing all, if it comes in high, where we're seeing that cost.
So that's the process. What do you think about dates as far as when those things would be achieved?
Well, I think
You
it's
said 2 to 3 weeks for the estimate, and you're gonna reconcile.
probably at the same time. I would think it might be a few weeks of us going back and forth, kind of looking, and then I'm sure we'd meet to talk about how realistic it is or how we're looking, things like that.
Still trying to commit to a date.
That we
Talking
would,
end of October. Or
You
where
know
are we?
what shaft on.
well, I guess the 10th, 2 weeks from that's the end of September. So I would think by the beginning of October, we'd have something that we would, both sides would have an updated estimate that we could go over.
And then our guy, our estimator is kind of waiting on us to, he's aware that we need, time is of the essence, that we need to have an actual number from him, so. Once he gets the information, you know, from GHD, he'll get going on it.
Okay, and then at the same time, you can wrap it up as far as the owner's cost and make it 100% projected cost of the project. That's something Apex would do on their own.
Oh, for the complete cost?
Yeah.
But we would do another round and update the cost estimate when, I forget what GHD said, beginning of December would be their 90%.
The 90%.
So at no point will we have any information on the total cost of the job until December, as you said?
Oh, part of the SRF submission is putting together all of so we'll have a cash flow for all the contracts, but then we'll also
Yeah,
have,
third.
yep,
Okay.
that October date, we'll have the construction contracts, contingency, engineering, police, grinder pump allowance, utility allowance, and that would break down the 170 million.
And they'll allow us a larger contingency for that first submittal.
Right, correct. When you get to 90%, obviously contingency gets reduced a little bit, and then when you get the 100%, that, you know, you probably carry about 5 to 7%.
Keep hopping on it because we didn't see anything at 30%, 60% is kind
I
of
know.
dragged.
Let's
So,
put it this way, our next regularly scheduled meeting is October 14th. So if you guys, it seems like that should be enough time to have something together for that, not to push a date on you, but.
Oh, yeah, for a.
but why not?
Yeah,
Push a date
but
on.
why not? Well, it's 2 weeks out.
But yeah, that way you can get through the submission, right? You
Yeah.
can, have some time to gather your thoughts and put something together perhaps.
Yep.
Lori had a question.
Wait, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to let you know that I am revising the Board of Health regulations to add in some growth neutral language before we have sewer regulations in place. So minus all the interruptions, I should have it done prior to the SRF application, the draft. So we can at least include a copy there, but they'll see that the language essentially keeps all the development the same based on the square footage of the lot. And then it does leave room for additional regulation, obviously, and it refers to when the sewer regulations come into place. So I think that should tide us over in the meantime.
Hillary, the new zoning that we did, you might not be able to answer this question. It might be a stupid question. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because I just thought of it. But our new zoning regulations that place limits on lots due to the size of the lot, obviously, but on other factors as well. Would they be considered moving towards growth neutral? Because they do limit development.
They limit development. I think it depends on what they put on each lot, but we have it as 10,000 square feet for 110 gallons per day. So we'd have to
Yeah.
calculate what you put in there. There's obviously always the option on some of these lots, if we weren't going towards the sewer, to use the IA system to gain more nitrogen credit.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Do we have any?
I had one logistical question.
Okay.
I think, Jackie, you might be going on vacation at some point. So we just wanted to make sure to know when you're available to sign things, or if Rich would be, like, if you could delegate
You're
stuff to
talking
him.
me?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Jackie Tupper doesn't take any vacation.
I was gonna say, I was going to make a comment, but then I decided not to embarrass her because I've known her for what, 10
I've
years
tried to
now.
convince
There
her.
haven't been any vacations.
No,
I
just
don't
wanted to
really-
check.
I don't have anything planned
Okay,
around
okay.
that October, the critical dates. And even if
Okay.
I do, we have a stamp, so I can
Okay.
verbally authorize the stamp, and of course, Rich can sign it.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure.
Any new business? Wow, we can't possibly be adjourning the meeting, so let's adjourn. It has next meeting Tuesday, September 23rd at 3 p.m.
Well, that's the SRF review.
Okay.
Design, yeah.
And then we'll schedule something for the 14th. All right, thank you very much.
We'll get the same thing.
Is the SRF review at the same time, Jackie?
I thought she sent